Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Pure and Heart Show. My name is Harry.
And I am Helen.
This is part 14, I believe, of our book series, Men, Women, The Mystery of Love by Edward Shri. Amazing book if you're just tuning in today for the first time. Helen's got another book here as well. Something that looks very tasty.
Yeah, so not to confuse anybody. Edward Shri is the book that we have been doing.
Edward Shri.
And now we're starting a book study in Marion Square, our home base. And it will be from every Wednesday, starting next Wednesday at 7 p.m. And it is Theology of the Body for Beginners, Christopher West. Basically, compendium of summarising John Paul II's Theology of the Body, because it's absolutely massive. I didn't bring that book because it's super heavy. But as you can see the size, if you're looking on YouTube, it's by no comparison. It's literally, I think, an eighth of of John Paul II's Theology of the Body. Maybe a bit more, maybe 2/8.
Very condensed.
So it is absolutely phenomenal book, and highly recommend if you can join the book study, but you're looking for something to read more about discovering the meaning of life, sex, love and gender. This is brilliant. He has lovely reflection questions at the end, is very well divided and sectioned, and he really beautifully, just like his way of articulating really deep theology, it's just the truth about sex and marriage is just really beautiful. Just the way he has a way around it and articulating it through, just storytelling, and it's honestly, thanks to this book. Obviously, all glory to God for Christopher West, and all glory for this book, and obviously John Paul II. But this book, I remember, I was 19 years of age in UCD, and Sean Flack, which you can listen to our show with him. We had him on our show a couple of weeks ago, and it's up on our YouTube channel, Sean Flack. And what's it called? How do you know she's
something about discerning in marriage? The thumbnail is like, how did you know she was the one, or something like that? Yeah.
Yes, that was really good. Yes, very catchy. So do check that out, because he has some fantastic gems and wisdom. So he actually brought these books from America. And he did a 3-part series, like just talks in UCD in the Newman Centre. Then afterwards, they just had these books, and I picked it up, and we did a book study with Claire Shoemaker, one of the Focus missionaries. And It was literally, I can tell you what chapter, I need to go to the beginning, but I think it was chapter 6, Marriage as a Divine Gift, that I was like, wow. And it totally, my world changed, and I said, I am always going to be a Catholic, and I'm not turning back, and I'm changing the way I'm going to live my life forever.
Wow.
So this book has brought so many conversions, reversions.
One heck of a recommendation. She had her conversion because of this book, so here we go.
And it's just fantastic. And I've done 2 or 3 myself, book studies with this book in UCD, and one kind of in the summer, and there have been fantastic people going, like people just meeting people, people making new friends, people actually meeting potential partners, people getting calls for discerning their, vocation possibly in religious life or priesthood. Like, it is a really, change-worthy book. And you can't, unfortunately, get it in Veritas. I checked, and I would otherwise I would tell you to go to Veritas, because I think we all know the sad news that they're closing down. So please support Veritas, because they badly do need the support. Yeah. But we were in America just a couple of weeks ago. We just came back, and we brought a suitcase back full of different books, and we have, I think we have about 50 copies of this book, so you can get it off us. It's only €10. On Amazon you'd be paying 20 plus VAT, so I highly recommend you to get it off us. If you want a copy, we have it, and send us an email, info@pureandheart.ie. If you want us to post it, we'll include the postage charge as well. I think it's only $3.60 or something to post, so it's not that much, and if not, you can come to our prayer meetings.
That's the best way.
On Thursdays.
Yeah, that's great.
23 Marion Square, 7 p.m, and we will have them in our base. So so we started that book study. Highly recommend if you can come. If you can't, get a book. And we'll be also at the Divine Mercy Conference. So check our stall out. We will have we'll have this book, a few other books, and just a few. If you want to chat to someone, or you have any questions, or you want to share anything, we'll be there at the stalls from Friday to Sunday at Divine Mercy Conference. So check us out as well. Fantastic opportunity to meet other great apostolates as well.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Yeah, it'd be great to see you there. Usually at the Divine Mercy Conference it's a beautiful hub for sort of Catholic connections. So if you want to learn about new groups or youth groups or anything that's going on, even anything connected to the Catholic world, actually, if you've never been to one of those conferences before, Divine Mercy Conference, highly recommend it. And as Helen said, we'll be there. We'd love to have a chat with you. Anything you want to ask us, if you want to learn about our activities, what we do, what we talk about, or if you want us to come to your school or your event, we'll be there. We can make arrangements.
Amen. And please keep a school in your prayers. God willing, we'll be visiting them. So just have in mind a school, and hopefully we might be able to share more with you next week, God willing. But do keep that in your prayers and keep our mission as well, because we can see that these times are not easy at all, and young people need the message of the truth about their bodies and human sexuality more now than ever before. So we really appreciate your support and your prayers. Yeah, we do a prayer.
Amen. Let's start with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. My adorable Jesus, may our feet journey together. May our hands gather in unity. May our hearts beat in unison. May our souls be in harmony. May our thoughts be as one. May our ears listen to the silence together. May our glances profoundly penetrate each other. May our lips pray together to gain mercy from the eternal Father. Amen. O Blessed Lady, spread the effect of the grace of the flame of love over all of humanity.
Amen.
Amen.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen. So, how have you been, Harry?
Smashing.
Smashing? Ooh,
how was
God.
the ball?
Oh, was...
Spill. Open the floodgates. How did that go?
Oh, my goodness. Well, it was amazing. I think there was the most people they've had in years. There was around 270.
Wow.
270
That's
people.
A decent number.
That was, they had to change rooms. They got a bigger room, which was amazing.
Wow.
So that was a huge testament to just the fact of how God is working in Ireland and moving.
And through U2000, fantastic group. Really, they do such good work.
And it was just so inspiring to see Cork is absolutely booming.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness,
That's
Bishop
great.
Fintan Gavin, praise be to God for him. He's like, so behind all the youth there, and just they're having this event coming up, Connect 4 in Cork, to encourage young people to take part in the church, especially down in the Munster area. And the Focus missionaries are just on fire. I met them and got to catch up and see how their mission is going, and I haven't seen them so lit up. Like, I remember the first year they came to Cork. This was 2 years ago now. This is their third year in Cork. And the first year, obviously, it was a tough year. And now they're like, oh my goodness, praise God. Like, now it's like you go on to UCC campus and you actually meet the missionaries and you want to go. You want to be Catholic. They have so many people signing up for...
Wow.
What's called RCIA, for baptisms, for confirmations, sacrament initiation. Like, it's just incredible.
Amazing. That's incredible. They're so effective. It's like spiritual magnetism. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's all through spiritual multiplication. So it's investing with friendship, getting to know someone, and actually getting to know them, and journeying with them. Like, I remember I put my focus missionary that who was investing her time in me, like, through probably hell. Like, for 2 years, she's probably looking at me. She's like, oh my goodness, I told her not to do this. I told her not to get with this guy. I told her, not to go to this place and do these things. And she still did them, but I still love her. And she still, loved me and pursued me nonetheless. Of me literally just like...
Gosh, such a powerful witness. Real, true friendship.
Yeah.
Standing by you no matter what.
Yeah. All those tears, they worked, Claire. They worked. So thank you for your sacrifices and your fastings.
Sainted Shul. Wonderful. Wonderful.
So we were actually we finished the chapter on resenting chastity, the current crisis. So that was chapter 7. So we're more than halfway through the book. And we answered questions 1 to 3. So we just have questions 4 and 5 left over.
That's it. And we're on to the battle for purity then, which is going to be pretty fun, hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully,
yeah. Fingers crossed, we'll see how that goes. Okay, so question 4. Ultimately, genuine love is greater than fleeting romance. How can living a life of chastity be its own reward? How does chastity protect love and make love possible?
Okay, ultimately, genuine love is greater than fleeting romance. Of course it is.
Yeah.
How can living life of chastity... be its own reward? And how does chastity protect love and make love possible?
Helps you to be able to see the other person for who and what they are, I think. First of all, I mean, its own reward is that it makes everything else automatically, well, suddenly it makes everything else the reward. It makes everything else possible, I think. It's like a stepping stone or a prerequisite to having a relationship, full stop. It's kind of it allows you to actually see the person for who they are. Like if you want to really know somebody, practice chastity with them. And that will instantly allow you to step back so you can see the full picture. There won't be this incredible level of intensity in the relationship that sort of blinds you and stumps you every time you try to move forward and actually intimacy, getting to know the person. And there'll be less fear, anxiety, and pressure as well. Because you're both able to coolly think about the situation. You're able to sort of think, okay, right, frees you to be able to put it in a context it deserves and think about it as a discernment for marriage where it's actually going, rather than just falling into maybe trying to, what was it, the way I worded in the last question? Just enjoying sort of shallow kind of...
a feeling of muddied by a longing to enjoy.
Yeah, muddied by a longing to enjoy, yeah. Just sort of trying to enjoy kind of shallow kind of pursuits, I think, and pleasures.
Yeah.
It's an invitation to more.
Yeah, and I think we can just look at a picture in the society right now, and I heard this, I listened to this, her name is Logan Urey, and she is a behavioral relationship psychologist. And she was basically, like, she's totally secular, but she's married, and she sees that actually people want long-term commitments. And she herself noticed she has this attachment theory. So this attachment theory is there, this is just a basis kind of. Now, if you put sex into the picture, this totally, first of all, you won't be able to notice any of these 3 different attachments. And also you're only going to be in a vicious circle with whatever the wounds that the other person has from how they've been kind of, I suppose, psychologically trained in their attachment. So I thought this was super fascinating. So it's a little bit sidetracked, but I think it kind of really resonates and also, I suppose, highlights the importance of chastity. So she basically says that there's an experiment conducted. So I just have a few notes. I want to check that I read it properly. So John Bowlby was a psychologist in the 60s. So he did this research where he placed babies in a lab. So the mothers came with their babies. So it was 3 mothers, and it was just watching how the behaviors of the baby. So in the first room, the mother was holding the baby, then she put the baby down, and the baby started to cry. So she left the room, and the baby was still crying. When she came back into the room, she put the baby into her arms, but the baby was so annoyed and frustrated with the mom that the baby still continued to cry. So that is called the anxiously attached people. So it's people who are like constantly afraid they have a fear of abandonment. So they tend to chase. They tend to be the people that, like, if you didn't reply to them after 5 minutes, they're like, where'd you go? Why haven't you replied to me? That's an anxiously attached person. So basically what he discovered is that the way the children were reared by their primary carers, whoever that might have been, usually that's, their parents, is actually tendencies that they tend to then, behavioral tendencies that they then carry through into their romantic relationships. So the second example was a mother. She left the same thing. She brought the baby, left the baby, and the baby didn't cry because the baby was used to being left alone, but it was frustrated because it wasn't it didn't feel affirmed when she came back. So when the mother came back into the lab to pick the baby up, the mother really didn't try to soothe the baby. She kind of just went on with her next couple of things. So the baby actually became avoidant attached. So it's a person that tends to basically, when they're afraid to get too close to a person. So when someone starts to like really open up to them, or really want to get very close to that person, they actually have these walls. They tend to be very cautious. And also those kind of avoidant attachments, these type of people tend to always pick the negatives. So they always pick at a relationship. And they're also more likely to be, they call it maximizers. So maximizers in dating research is a person who's never satisfied. So they always want somebody else or the next better thing. And they're always searching for perfection. They'll never get through it. But it's because they have an avoidant attachment, they're constantly avoiding commitment or to make a commitment because they're afraid of getting hurt, or they're used to getting hurt or being let down in as growing up as, being a child. So that's avoidant attachment. Then the third example and the final example is the mom. She basically, lulls the baby, carries the baby, calms the baby, and then leaves to go to another room. And then she comes back and the baby is calm. And she comes back and she, again, rocks the baby, soothes the baby. And the baby is totally understands that it's okay, that they have been trained that, the mom leaves them in a happy situation, not abruptly, but in a happy, when they're kind of calm, comes back to them and, comes back the same, loving and calm. So those type of people have secure attachments. So these people, they are okay with, somebody, needing a bit of space, and they're not going to start, texting, where are you? Why aren't you there? Also, those people, are going to be, wanting to trust you. So basically, they're kind of basically the perfect package, right? But these people, these secure people, are very few in number. So majority of the world, so 2/3 of the world is either avoidant attached or anxiously attached. And also, this woman, because she's a dating researcher, she looked at people who are secure individuals and balanced, individuals, they tend to commit sooner, get married, want long-term commitment and choose marriage. And they tend to get married young and they start families young and they basically kind of, are taken up. So there's not that many of them left out there. So we're kind of left with anxiously attached or avoidant attached people. And she says, her and other data psychologists like John Bowlby and Logan Urey, that's the one that I'm talking about. So all these psychologists are saying that until we understand our own attachment and we work on ourselves, and what she says is that we basically understand our triggers and work on self-regulation, we're constantly going to be in a loophole of meeting somebody. So what generally happens is women tend to be more anxiously attached and men tend to be more avoidantly attached. And men who are, I'm not going to use the bad word, but who are, sex driven and sleep around, those type of men tend to be avoidant attached people. Avoidant attached people also, I feel like I'm going on a big story here, but
you're getting somewhere though, I can feel it, yeah.
Avoidant attached people are also people who have addictive personalities at the same time. And when you mean addictive, it means short-term pleasures. So they're okay with short-term pleasures, so short-term gratifications. So basically, when you bring sex into this, so there's no chastity and you're, sexually active, these people, avoidant people, what they tend to do is they get into what the book says, a fleeting romance, and it happens so fast and ends so quickly. And once once they hit like getting to know the person and their emotions and how they're feeling, they straight away start to retract. And the other person who possibly is anxiously attached chases them and, starts to get actually frustrated, and fear of abandonment is just brought up. Oh my goodness, they're leaving me. And that just sets them back up again. And then they're searching for security. So then they start to, look elsewhere. And then they start to basically get into habitual serial relationships as well. So it's basically like a spiraling kind of a vicious circle, and it's accentuated when you bring in sex, because sex is, or anything to do with sexual climax, it is the most highest bonding that two people can ever make. And if you get to that level with these people, and you have these attachments that you have not worked on yourself, and you have these triggers, and you have not healed from your wounds, and you don't know how to love this person rightly, you're only going to use each other and hurt each other and end up using her in the process of it. And it's just, this is what we're in. And the remedy to that is chastity. Because only when we start to become growing in our self-mastery and become self-disciplined, only then, if I start to control my sexual drive, it doesn't cloud my perception of the other person. I start to get to know myself better, what triggers me, what wounds I may have. I start to concentrate more on me and see, how am I treating this person? How is that person treating me back? And I'm less likely to get into these abusive or just corrupted toxic relationships, or being used in the process of by somebody.
Wow. I wish these massive SMB7 microphones weren't like fixed. You could just like drop one after that. But anyway, that's a beautiful insight. It's really fascinating about the child attachment. I studied some psychology when I was over in Spain. We studied this as well, the attachment forms that children form, in the first 6 months of their lives. And also, obviously, experiences later on in life can compound this style of attachment. And as we get older, if we are bullied at school, or if we are abandoned by a parent, like through a divorce or something like that, or if we have a series of bad relationships and we're cheated on, or we're treated badly, or we are, or if we are even in a relationship with somebody who has a similar attachment, a similar unhealthy attachment type to us, it can seriously cause it can compound our own issues and make them worse. And obviously, if the sexual element is in a relationship, it makes things a whole lot more intense. So you're liable to be even more damaged. And then if you're anxiously attached, it's going to make it far worse, because everything is heightened, everything is more intensified. So, chastity really, it spares you from so much of this, and it's a safeguard against this spiraling effect, and it helps you to be able to construct a positive, healthy relationship with the other person in a neutral sort of, in a way that you can both be relaxed and actually appreciate it, so that it spares you from this anxiety, or if you are a distant attached person? No, avoidant attached person, or an anxious attached person, it circumvents that completely. So you have this relationship with the person. It's more objective. That's what I'm trying to say. The relationships are more objective. You're able to see the person for who they are, and you're able to have a security there, knowing that your goals are the same, that you want the best for each other, and the fact that it takes effort in order to follow this through is in itself the assurance that you both really want what's good for each other, because it's difficult, right? That's the point of chastity. It's challenging. There was the group that used to travel around the world, the Chastity Challenge team. It's a difficult thing to do, right? They were the predecessors to Pure in Heart, really, in many ways. They're part of the inspiration. But yeah, it's worth it, and it really, really helps you to see the relationship in a clear-minded way, which is essential. If you are in a really delicate, discerning point with somebody, the last thing you want to do is introduce super intense emotions that blind you to the other person, see who they are, that activate all of these insecure attachments sort of reflexes in you and in the other person, that puts pressure in the relationship, and then you start experiencing the other person in a way that they actually aren't, that they shouldn't be. you know? And you start seeing only the toxicity in the person, whereas if you do things right, they're not going to be anxiously attached, or they're not going to be, avoidantly attached. It's going to be, mutually beneficial.
Yeah, and I think the reward, as it says here, it's chastity protects the love, and it does make it possible, because true love is, as we always say, it's wanting what's good for the other person. It's seeing their dignity, and I feel like what happens in our culture is that it's so used, like sex and everything to do with it is so used against the other person, and people literally are so cruel after such an extremely intimate act, because they don't realize how intimate it is. I think we need to understand the meaning of sex. Like, the sexual act is literally what we believe is what happens during Mass when Jesus, he literally pours all of himself, gives all of himself to us. He breaks himself. He's nailed to the cross. He's crucified, and the cross, in charge of the body, is the marital bed. And on the cross, the greatest consummation act that ever happens is Jesus dying for us. And it's not to be like, oh, this is so crazy, so whatever, ooh, this is weird. It's like, no, this is stunningly beautiful. And until we understand and reclaim the beauty and the intimacy of sex, we won't want to waste it, and we won't take it for granted, and we won't be, using other people or taking them for their pleasures and then disposing of them, discarding of them, and they're out of your life and they're a total stranger to you after such intimate acts of intimacy that people can never ever replicate anything more than that. Science will never be able to replicate a more precious and intimate act, physically, humanly possible. And we need to understand that. And our culture totally tosses it around. And people, psychologists, are coming to it. They're understanding, like, these people who become sex addicts or who sleep around and have serial relationships, they understand that they're not happy, and they start to come back to, why am I acting this way? Why am I behaving this way? And they start to go back and learn about themselves, and they see that actually jumping into bed with someone that I don't really know, or even if I do know them, and let's say I love them, I should be able to totally give myself to that person in full commitment, and the only full commitment ever possible is the sacrament of marriage. And they're getting to it, they're not religious, but they're digging it. They're digging this, that they're understanding the importance of commitment for success, like career-wise, for longevity, for like life expectancy. People who are in long-term commitment, it overall, the well-being of a person is massively, massively increased on every single level when they're in a healthy, loving, committed, long-term relationship.
I just think it's so beautiful the way that, like, secular sort of scientists and even secular psychologists are finally sort of like coming full circle. And it's sort of a vindication. It's almost proving, what we as Catholics have practiced all along, that it's the way we're made. It's a real confirmation of intelligent design and how God's message of theology of the body is so true. It's so true, and it speaks to our hearts, because we're finding mainstream psychology and these massive surveys that they do in people are finding that actually it's the best way to do things.
Yeah, and it's just I think testimonies of people, so many girlfriends, like secular girlfriends that I know, crying to me, because the guy that they slept with after less than a month is dating another girl, or is totally, and they're like, what? Like, they feel totally discarded. Their whole identity, their whole self-worth, everything that tells them who they are, like, they are shattered. And the same, I'm sure, Harry, men that possibly have been in these cases. But it testifies of, like, this is not how we're created to be. We're created for so much more. And we need to help young people. We have to. And we're witnesses. And we're not perfect. We make mistakes and we fall. But but we know the truth, and I feel like there's such a demand for this truth right now, and I think it's just so important that I think going into Lent, because tomorrow we have 2 days in one, but most importantly, tomorrow is our journey with the Lord, and it's like I wrote this down. And I was like, people are saying, okay, and what am I fasting from? What charity am I going to be supporting? And then how am I going to increase my prayer time? And it's all like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'm actually, my spiritual director said to me, like, reflect on this past year. Like, this time last year, reflect on it. It might be painful. It might be certain things that you're not proud of. Reflect on it and see where God has been, and see where you need to possibly areas you need to heal on or work on or grow in. And it's like the prayer that this priest suggested was, Lord, draw my heart closer to yours. And like every day for Lent, repeating, Lord, draw my heart closer to yours. Because if we become more Christ-like, we'll start to treat other people more Christ-like, and we'll start to see Christ in other people, and we will be less likely to, use people or think of people in a kind of a short-term way, and we'll be seeing them as eternal beings, like infinite, unrepeatable, non-disposable, irreplaceable human beings. And I just think that's something I would really encourage the listeners, is just to kind of, not to worry so much about what am I not going to eat, what am I not going to fast from, but actually think back on your past year and really reflect on how can this journey in Lent, given whatever you've been through the past year, how can those instances help you to grow closer to God and to change and to grow in more of his image and likeness?
Question 5. Fire away.
You go for it. I'm talking so much today.
Okay, never mind. So reflect on this verse from St. John Paul. Be blameless and innocent children of God, without blemish, in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world, holding fast the word of life. Okay, and then there's, how do you think a positive, integrated vision of chastity could be more effectively promoted in the midst of our own crooked and perverse generation? What can be done within your own life, family life, the church, schools, and work environments? Wow, okay, each one is totally different. Your own life, family life, the church, schools, and work environments. I think the call to the Christian life is wherever we go, we have to act charitably. I think is the long and the short of it. Chastity isn't just for relationships. It's not just for dating people. It's not just for married people. It's for everybody. Every kind of interaction you have with every other person. It's about being able to see the dignity and uphold the dignity of every human person, and having the nature of your relationship with this person, whatever it is, reflect your desire to see them as a full person in their full dignity, and treat them accordingly. So I think everywhere you go, it's applicable. And there's any number of infinitely imaginative ways to go about it and to practice it with every unique situation that arises. It's not a clean-cut answer for you, but I think this is what I've come to understand in my own life. And it's what we teach when we go to schools. Chastity is for every friendship, relationship, interaction you have with everybody.
Yeah, I think that when I got more involved with, going to Pure in Heart prayer meetings, the more chastity it just expands, and overall it's basically a call to holiness, and I totally agree about Harry, what you're saying. It's like, I think that's the beauty of chastity, is that's why it really touches when we speak to young people. It touches them because they do want to be respected. They want to be seen, known, and loved. And they understand that from chastity. And they can see why they want to live it. And they can see why they deserve that and others deserve that. And they can see that actually, because I was at a really good talk. Iona Institute did a talk last Wednesday, David Quinn, and it was about what we owe Christianity. And he said that the whole human rights, what's it called?
Debate, I suppose.
Debate, and just the whole, I suppose, course or whatever, the statutes and everything on human rights, those are all Christian ideas. Like, because it was the Christians were the first ones to acknowledge that it's not your status, it's not where you're from, it's not what color you have, it's not what language you can speak or how physically able you are or what gender you are. You are simply, as a human being, you have a human dignity that totally is completely cannot be discriminated against or used against for advantage of others, or to be used in advantage of others or pursuit of other people's gains. Like you are so unique and you are so important. And doesn't matter what your class, your background, how much money you have, what career you have, whatever it is, that does not matter. And it was the Christians who first started the whole human rights movement. It all came from Christianity, because it was Christianity that said every single person is made in the image and likeness of God. That is amazing. Every single person is a co-heir to a kingdom. Doesn't matter, a slave or a king, president or a mine worker, whatever that is, every single person has the right, to be respected, and their dignity should be upheld no matter what the cost. So I feel like chastity is all about that, and it highlights that, and our world doesn't realize it, but they, even the whole thing about sex trafficking, all of these issues are coming to light, and people are fighting against this and against all the abuses that have been done to human beings, and it's all like this call, this universal call that we desire to be known, loved, and seen. And that is chastity. It helps us to do that. It trains us. It equips us with the skills to do that and to choose to do that. How we can do it in our own life, family life, church, schools.
Lights in the world. I think it brought me back to what you said about Focus Missionaries. I think they embody chastity very well, because they see and know people and journey with them. And it's so attractive, right? They are literal lights. People are gravitated towards them. That's how we're called to be, though, in everyday lives, wherever we are, at our work. If we're teachers, if we are on a mission, if we go to our church, if we are spending time with friends, if we're involved in a sport, everywhere and anywhere we are, at home, more than anything, it all starts in the family. We're called to be these lights. We're called to really see people for who they are and journey with them and love them in their brokenness, because there's nothing more redemptive for a person to experience another person seeing them and their flaws and loving them in spite of them. Because the biggest challenge we often struggle with as humans is self-hatred because of our imperfections, because of our shortcomings. We think we're not worthy. We think we're unworthy of love. And this is the biggest lie the devil tries to sell us. And he capitalizes on this insecurity, which is so basic inside us. So when the message of Christ comes along, or somebody embodying Christ for us in whatever desperate situation we're in, sees us in our squalor and actually loves us out of it, it's counterintuitive to somebody who doesn't believe in God. And that is why I think Focus are having such an incredible effect on campuses. They're counterculturally, counterintuitively helping people who on a purely human level should be left in the mud. But they're actually helping them and loving them and being patient with them when there's no reason to, they're not getting any monetary benefit from it. They're not getting any social kudos from it. They're actually just loving them for the sake of their dignity. And this is what chastity is.
Yeah.
Okay.
What a chapter.
Yeah, we're just getting started. Here we go. So, the battle for purity. The battle for purity ultimately is fought deep in the recesses of the human heart. Our hearts were made to love, but since the fall, they have been tainted by a desire to use others. In this reflection, we will see that chastity is so much bigger than simply saying no to certain sexual actions we may commit in the body. In the end, chastity is a matter of the heart. I'm really getting into it now. Chaste literally means clean. Christians have long used this word to describe the particular virtue that moderates our sexual desire. But this is not because sexual desire itself is somehow unclean or dirty. In fact, John Paul II warned against a negative view of chastity that turns this virtue into mere suppression of sensual desire. Don't have sex before you're married. In this negative light, chastity becomes merely one long no. This kind of suppression can have serious consequences for the human person. Chastity is very often understood as a blind inhibition of sensuality and of physical impulses such that the values of the human body and of sex are pushed down into the subconscious, where they await an opportunity to explode. This is obviously an erroneous conception of the virtue of chastity, which, if it is practiced only in this way, does indeed create the danger of such explosions. We must see chastity as a positive virtue that enables us to love and protects love from being tainted by the selfish tendency to use the other person for our own pleasure. John Paul II said chastity is emphatically not one long no. Rather, it is first and foremost a yes in our heart to the other person. Not just to his or her sexual values. It is a yes that requires us to say no to other things in order to protect love from falling into utilitarianism. Pure love. This positive, wider context of love for a person is the key to understand the Church's teaching on sexual morality. Joe, for example, truly wants to love his girlfriend as a person and not just a source of pleasure. He chooses to engage in sexual activity with her. He chooses not to engage in sexual activity with her, understanding that sexual intercourse is meant to express total self-giving love. A sexual expression of complete self-giving love makes sense within marriage, where husband and wife surrender themselves to each other completely in a lifelong commitment of love. Joe and his girlfriend, however, have not yet entered into such a relationship of full commitment and self-gift. A sexual relationship for them, therefore, would be a lie, devoid of the total lifelong commitment to each other as persons and the complete self-giving love that comes in marriage. Sexual intercourse, in the end, would be about using each other for the pleasure associated with this profound act of love. Therefore, choosing chastity helps free them from such pleasure-seeking utilitarianism and enables their relationship to develop, possibly into deeper self-giving love. In short, chastity moderates our human desires for pleasure and allows us to experience a clear, pure love of the other person, a love that is truly centered in the other person's good, not just in our own enjoyment. As John Paul II explains, the word chaste, clean, implies liberation from everything that makes dirty. Love must be, so to speak, pellucid through all the sensations, all the actions which originate in it. We must always be able to discern an attitude to a person of the opposite sex which derives from a sincere affirmation of the worth of that person. Do you want to continue?
The difference between the 6th and the 9th commandments. One of the main fronts in the battle of purity is what John Paul II calls sensual egoism, which is a tendency to use another person for sensual pleasure. Certainly, various sinful acts constitute this kind of egoism, but John Paul II stresses that one can fall into sensual egoism without making any bodily contact with another person. For example, as we saw earlier, a man can view a woman primarily in terms of the value of her body, and he can use her body as an object of enjoyment whenever he sees her, or even in his memory and imagination after he has seen her. I also will add to there, it could also not just be a person's body, it could also be viewing this, looking at someone for what they will give you or what they will do for you. So sometimes
Utilitarianism takes many forms.
It takes many forms. So another example could be a woman coming in and cooking and cleaning for her boyfriend. So he's getting use out of her in that area. For the other way around, let's say the woman like constantly gets lifts, or she constantly, takes advantage that he's going to drive all the way down to Cork to pick her up. So
gets free dinners in fancy restaurants. All the time.
Okay, well, we could discuss that one later.
This is deep personal scarring. No, I'm joking.
This is called pursuing, Harry. There has to be a bit of pursuing here.
It's taking advantage. I actually saw really interesting two relationship coaches talking about that as well the other day. It's really interesting, the dynamics at play.
Okay, do you want to share that? Let's share that.
Yeah, it was just about how the dynamics work. So it's about knowing what you're getting yourself into by they were so close. They were outlining chastity without actually saying the word. And these are two secular guys, right? They were talking about like having this clarity of vision at the beginning of the relationship to know what you're getting yourself into, right? And being able to go on a date, right? So you know what the other person is going to be like. Let's say if the other person, if you buy a dinner for a woman, right, on a first date as a man, if she then takes advantage of that and then starts asking to go to the most expensive restaurants in the city every night, knowing that you're going to pay for her, then obviously that's a way to know what you're getting yourself into. As well, like if a woman offers to pay and then allows you to pay for her, that lets the woman know what the kind of man is like. And also, it also speaks to the woman's character that she offered something and then allowed you to actually provide, which I think that's really interesting. It's an interesting dynamic.
I kind of disagree a little bit.
No, look, if you,
I don't get you. Sorry.
No, if a woman offers to pay for a meal on a date.
But what if she can't, or what if she doesn't?
Well,
Does
then
that make her then that she's going to use him?
she loses out on the opportunity to see if the man will say no, I have this, or if he'll actually let her pay.
What about if she presumes that as a gentleman that he will pay?
That's fine too.
That's okay, is it?
That's fine too. Yeah, no, that's fine too. But it's just it's interesting. Men appreciate it if a woman sometimes offers to pay, so then they can say no, it's okay, I'll pay for this one.
But usually, I don't know. I think it's nowadays maybe there's a bit of a confusion because now women can work and guys, both guys and women, we all can work. But like that's how not it was in the beginning. That's not how it used to be. It used to be, and I can understand what you're saying. A woman will take advantage by wanting to go out every night and go into expensive restaurants. That's taking advantage. That is using the man.
There can be an element of a man, because every man who goes dating will be taken advantage of in that way at some point or another. And it's always going to be a fear, right? But it's a fear that they have to pay dearly for sometimes, right? Because women do take advantage many times. This happens to men. So if a woman offers to pay, it's like, oh my goodness, now I actually feel good about paying for this woman because I know that she's not trying to take advantage of me,
And
also the woman then gets to see, oh wow, he is a real man after all. I even offered to pay and he was like, no. So I think that's interesting. That's an interesting dynamic.
And was he saying on that show like that women should do that all the time, or just on the very first couple of dates to let the man show that he will be a provider in the relationship?
Well, they just said, look, it's not necessary. Obviously, you can do it any way you want. It's a useful opportunity to gain insight and to learn what you're getting yourself into. That if you didn't make that move, whether you're the guy or the girl, you wouldn't really know. You'd have less information about what you're getting yourself into, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I just from like Catholic dating, usually like that doesn't really tend to happen. Maybe it does, but from the situations that I've myself been in and other people that I know who are in Catholic dating, it's kind of like, it's a given that if the woman is pursuing the heart of Jesus and the man is pursuing the heart of Jesus, that they're not going to want to use each other in this way, and that the man will want to provide because he is the man, and the woman will want to be guided and led by the man because she would appreciate him, living out his authentic masculinity. And so
You would think that, and you would hope that. Sadly, there's plenty of bad eggs also in the Catholic Church. Even if you're Catholic dating, you really don't know anything about the other person. And sometimes if you're a woman, like your intentions are good, but also the man has to try and figure you out too. It's not all about you finding out about the man. I mean, the man has probably been taken advantage of before in different ways, even by Catholic women. You'd be surprised. And then it's very reassuring. I've noticed that when I was dating, like if I would go on a date, and a woman, it's like the woman, it's less demanding maybe, and it's like the woman invites you to be the provider rather than you feeling like it's a potential trap. You know what I mean? Because you don't know anything about this girl, potentially, or you don't really know what her line is. Like how far will she push this? How much will she try to get out of you? Because women try to get things out of men as well. Men try to get things out of women. They're often different things. But let's say to just polarize this with the secular view. The secular view is that, okay, the man pays for the meal for the woman, but then expects sex from her in return. So yeah, I think the more steps you can take to invite the other person into living authentic masculinity or authentic femininity, the more confirmations you will get or be denied that that's the case.
Okay, so it's not emasculating a man by a woman asking him that, oh, I'll pay. Because sometimes I found guys can take offense by that, because they can get very defensive about it. Oh, of course I can pay. Like some guys actually take that as a little bit like, oh, she's trying to show she's an independent woman. And a lot of guys don't like that.
No,
and they're
I
like,
do understand that.
She's trying to be kind of a feminist here.
Yeah.
Like that's some Catholic guys that I've met, like very traditional minded Catholic men.
Yeah.
So
that's true too.
I'm a little bit confused, because usually, I think like as Jason Everett says, like, even when asking someone out, he encourages guys to do it, bite the bullet and do it, because as a man, it's better for your heart to be put out there than her heart to be put out there, because her heart is not made to be put out there. A woman, her body, her soul is feminine, and it's delicate. And not to say that men can be trashed and thrown about and done whatever they want. No, but it's that I think it's important to appreciate that there is a difference in our sexuality, and to encourage men. Whereas what I think the culture is the opposite right now, is that men don't do the work or don't do the pursuing, because they know that the woman will come after and still give them sex, still give them everything they want, and they don't have to do much effort for it. So I don't know, that's the kind of angle I'm seeing it from, but that's really interesting what you just said there, because
because I do actually appreciate it from the other angle as well, because I've obviously seen women, I've even gone on a date with, I think, women who will do that as well. Like they'll get annoyed if you try to pay for them or do anything for them, and at that point it's just a massive red flag. You have to walk away. I would walk away because it's they do not allow you to provide for them or to shelter them in any way, which just kind of, no, I don't have time for that. I'm sorry. So yeah, that's the opposite extreme though. But like if, let's say, I'm on a date, I won't mind, let's say, if it's the first date, I won't mind at all if the girl just quietly lets me pay. This absolutely wouldn't even cross my mind. Nothing, there'd be no flag there of any color at all. It'd be great, brilliant. I wouldn't expect her to pay at all on the first date. And then if I was going on a date with a girl at first date, and then she sort of, when it came to time to pay, she took out her card, I'd be just like, no, don't worry about this, I got it. And then if she just puts it away and accepts, then it's like, oh, I think that's actually kind of sweet that she would actually like allow me to do this for her, Mm-hmm. While also, I don't know, I think it's fine. And then she gets to see that I am the kind of guy that will insist on providing for her.
Yeah, it's true,
know?
because there have been girls who have gone on dates. And you actually reminded me of a case where a girl went on a coffee date and, you know, the guy didn't even offer if she wanted a coffee.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Like
That's it. This is it, right? This is.
He didn't even offer if she wanted a coffee.
Didn't
Like,
even
he
co-
went
yeah.
in, bought himself, you know, or even just as getting to know her, or, you know, whatever. Like, it just didn't even cross his mind. He just knew that he's going to get a coffee for himself and she's going to get a coffee for herself, you know? And it's like, you know,
Wow, yeah.
like there has been situations like that. So I think that
These are the small signs we're talking about, guys. These are the red flags you see at the beginning, and the clearer your mindset can be, the clearer you'll see the signs.
and also just to flag that the conference to what's it called, Healing and Wholeness Conference is this Saturday. So it's coming up on the 17th from 12 to 5. It's in our building, 23 Marion Square. We really encourage you to come, because kind of what we were mentioning at the beginning of the show about the different attachment styles. And also there's lots of other different, I suppose, like judgments or past wounds or soul ties, whatever that is. Father Timothy Moran has done literally like a full course. He's totally qualified in the area of deliverance and unbound ministry. So he's top of the guys there in terms of all of this, everything to do with healing, restoration, and deliverance. So highly recommend, if you're kind of on the fence, not too sure if it's for you or not, I'd encourage you to come along, because that could be, as Father Timothy would say, a spiritual warfare. You know, with the spirits
There you go.
trying to dissuade you from going or distracting you and
Everything
saying,
going wrong.
yeah, and saying you don't need this, you know, you've done healing, you've already gone to deliverance, or it didn't go very well for you, so don't do it again. These are all the evil spirits trying to, you know, pull you away from receiving healing, true full healing. That takes time, and we need to persevere. So it's this Saturday from 12 to 5 in 23 Marion Square North. And please send us an email to RSVP for numbers. There will be lunch included. There will be mass adoration. Also, there will be what's it called? A service of healing, a healing service. So that it will be also on the day. So.
And if you want a sneak peek of Father Timothy Moran and what he's about, in the next 24 hours, I'm going to be uploading a video of a talk he gave at Pure in Heart last Thursday, which is phenomenal. So you get a little bit of a taster for what the weekend's going to be like.
Super. Okay.
God bless you all. We'll see you next time.